And welcome into the Summit City Sports Report. This is number 20 with Southside football coach Andre Goodwell. Of course, we have Tim Atkinson joining us as always. And Tim will be at the Battle for the Totem Pole this Friday night at Chambers Field, a 7 p.m. start. Coach Andre Goodwell in his second year at Southside. And coach, your team picks up its first win of the season, a 9-7 victory at home against Concordia. Boy, conditions were just brutal last Friday for throwing the ball, a slick turf and everything. But you guys battled through adversity and picked up the first win of the season. Has to feel good to get number one.
Yes, it does. It does, especially, excuse me, with the type of season that we've had and some of the close games that we've been in and felt we were right there. It feels great. Like I said, again, for the kids, first and foremost, for them to get that feeling and get that breakthrough W. And it's carried over to this week in practice. We've had an aggressive, fast-paced, up-tempo practice this week. Kids are really buying into the game plan we're setting up, trying to go on this game and compete this week and hopefully bring the Totem Pole back home.
Coach, this game, obviously, I believe it's in its 97th season. Northside holding the edge here. Let's see it. 58 times to 39. So honestly, it's probably the longest running rivalry in northern Indiana, maybe even the state, going all the way back to 1927. What's it feel like being a part of this game, Coach? It's almost like you can hear the ghost of football players past, kind of whispering over your shoulder.
It's funny that you say that, but because dating back to when I played in the SAC myself, this rivalry has always been outstanding with, Northside and Southside in the Totem Pole game. I knew about it, but never being a part of it. But now as a coach, first and foremost, I'm humbled and very appreciative to now be a part of this and to hopefully, like I said, shorten the gap on that win-loss situation and give like I told our kids today, more so than about us, about the school, about the community, about, everyone who supports, us as a team now and what we're trying to do and rebuild Southside, just what a great feeling would that be for us to be able to bring that Totem Pole back home. And, and I think we have the team to do it. We just have to, again, stick to the game plan. We've put together a little bit of a different offensive identity we've been trying to get to the last few weeks. It's worked a little bit for us. With the conditions the way they were, we were able to run for over 200 yards against Concordia. The score didn't reflect that, but we spent a good portion of the game in the red zone. We didn't capitalize, missed on a field goal attempt as well. So we did real well with that, and we played aggressive defense. Again, Concordia scored their only touchdown late in the game. Our special teams was big, had a couple turnovers on special teams that worked out. So I know the score doesn't show that, but it was a complete game, and with offense, defense, and special teams alike, we were able to do a lot of good things in that game that we see that can carry on along with getting the win that we see can help us going forward.
Yeah, you mentioned close games. That Marion opener, once again, just almost there, just so close to being there. But what I see, Coach, is the progression. A lot of naysayers would say, well, you still have only won one game. But look at the scores compared from last year to this year with the common opponents. I'm going to run through them real quick here so everybody out there listening understands the difference maker of what's happened. Last year, that Marion game, 22-17 loss, 41-3 loss to South Bend, 78-6 loss to Carroll, 41-0 to Snyder. Those first four games right there compared to this year with the 27-21 loss in overtime to Marion, and then 21-9 South Bend. Carroll got the best of you, of course, at 49-0, but 35-14 in that Snyder game. That's progression from what I'm seeing and building a program there at Southside that hasn't seen its best days of late.
Yes, I appreciate that. And for us, as being in the game as long as we have been in adults, that's the easy point for us to understand. And, my task as a coach is to get the kids to understand that somehow and to see, like we said, those progressions. And even this year with the Snyder game, even this year with the Wayne game, both of those games were respectively 14-0 and very much well could have been 7-0 games at halftime. Our defense has played well this season, given the lack of scoring that we've been able to produce so far, with our offense. The only game that I feel like we were really dominated in this year from start to finish is the Carroll game. Every other game, I do feel like we have progressed. We've gotten better. We're taking steps in the right direction. But like we said, when the kids, that losing feeling, it hurts and it resonates, and you don't want them to get, that habit or that way of play. So we've been doing our best, and we have a great group of young men, and they're buying in, and they're not dropping their heads, and we don't hear the like last year. We don't allow them to say that. We don't allow that talk in the locker room or the field. Nothing's like last year. Nothing's like the year before. Every year we're going to progress, and we're going to try to get better.
Yeah, and you've seen that, especially in your first year, such a young group of underclassmen that you had. Now a year underneath their belt, but still young as an overall roster. I mean, when you look at the roster, there isn't a ton of seniors on this roster, which has got to make it a little bit difficult for you, Coach, to find those team leaders, even at the underclassmen. Is that an issue that you always try to spearhead in the first 2 years, is finding those leaders and captains that can really motivate this team? Because a lot of times a coach can say too much and it goes in one ear and out the other with teenagers nowadays. To have a group of kids, that you can count on to talk to your youngsters. Has that been a main focus for you guys?
Yeah. It's been by committee. And like you said, by our roster, and I know a lot of people don't have a chance to look at it, but for guys that know, we've gotten younger.
Right.
By class, because with the senior group that we did lose and the amount of guys that did contribute from the senior class that we had last year, now we, like I said, we'll have, not afraid to say it, we'll have 8 returning starters on offense and 7 returning starters on defense next year, and to speak to our youth.
Yeah.
So we still have a lot of work to do, but very optimistic and very happy with the direction that we're going in so far. And like we said, just knowing that we're young and knowing that there's steps that we have to take, and there's a process, and just keeping the kids hungry and knowing that, knowing what the goal is to get better every game, every practice, every day. And like we said, the wins are going to fall in place. We'll win our fair share. And like I told them, we've got an opportunity to still be 4-5 at the end of this season. I think every game that we have from here on out is a game that we can compete in if we play the right way, sound football for 4 quarters. I think my defense is going to give us a chance in every game. We've created turnovers in every game this year. And like I said, we've gotten stops in first and second and third drives of games, not just late in games. So like I said, I trust our defense and our offense. Like I said, now I feel like we're finding an identity and finding some things that we can do with our offense to gain a little bit more success, like I said, with the youth that we have and that we're playing with.
And who are the leaders who are the captains for your club this year, Coach?
Right now, without making a lot of noise, and he's a captain that doesn't say a lot, but Avier White, number 1, he's one of our top leaders by work ethic. He plays anywhere from wide receiver, tight end, starts defensive end for us too, leads us in sacks. He's just an all-around athlete. I mean, he does whatever we ask him. Undersized tight end, but very athletic, blocks well, catches well, has a touchdown catch on the season for us as well, but does everything we want him to do. Along with number 13, Dontel Gillespie, another undersized defensive end, but gutsy kid, team leader, very rah-rah. I mean, he's the loud guy, always, in the middle of the huddle, wants to get the team going. So those type of guys that we need. But, I look to those guys. And also I was Silas Portee. He's a starting fullback and starting middle linebacker, and he's been a 4-year varsity player. He started his freshman year playing on the offensive line and has developed from that to defensive end. And now I feel like the last couple of years he's been at the position he needs to be at middle linebacker and at that fullback position. He's brought a lot to the team.
Yeah.
And you love to hear it, Coach. Sounds like a guy that's going to do whatever he has to do to get on the field and help the team win. I mean, you're talking about a middle linebacker who's a starting offensive lineman as a freshman. It really speaks to the character of your kids and that they're kind of into the we and not me type of mentality.
Yes, he's currently being recruited by Trine University. I've had a couple conversations with Coach Abs about him, and good in the classroom. And like I said, continuing to do what he's doing this season. And hopefully, like I said, we can compile some more wins and play late into into October and November, and give him a chance to get a lot of tape out there. And he's going to have some opportunities.
And Coach, obviously building a program does not happen overnight. It's a process, as you alluded to. And honestly, Coach, in 2023, taking over the Southside team, it was a team that was in pretty bad shape. Obviously, the 2022 season ended with an interim coach. What has been the hardest thing about this rebuilding process? And obviously, you're barely halfway through year number 2.
I think it's just been the consistency with getting the kids to believe in the direction I'm going. And I think that's starting to pick up. We went from sub 60 kids last year to we've got almost 90 kids dressed this year. And that's been the biggest thing, that we have kids now who are believing in the school and getting them to believe and want to try to help the team and want to see us be better. Because I work in the school, so I'm there daily, and that's my motto. How can we be better? If you guys who, are talking to us about how bad we are, how can we be better? If you're not out there playing.
Right.
And when they do see us have success, even in the scrimmage game, we had a great scrimmage against Anderson this year. You wouldn't believe how many kids wanted to join the football team after that. And Coach, can I still come out? We'll go get our physicals, and I did. And I'm in a position right now, like I said, that's not how it's always going to be able to be. But right now, if a kid wants to join, wants to be a part of it, wants to learn, and is willing to work hard, I wouldn't turn them away. And it's helped us. It gives us depth. It gives us guys who some of them who haven't played since middle school, and some juniors and seniors who wanted to come out and be a part of the team. So I think with that's been the biggest thing in just trying to get the consistency and the belief to change, that it's not just because we're having some bumps in the road. And like you said, we're just picking up our first victory here. It's not like last year. It's not like the years in the past, because our attitudes are different. The work ethics are different. But, with our youth, as you guys know, it's hard for those demons not to creep in, when those losses are consistently, and, when you're at the doorstep of victory and it slips away from you, it's hard for a kid not to think, here we go again. So we're tasked as a staff to get them to believe it's never here we go again. It's how do we rebuild? How do we get better? How do we learn from the last game? We're watching film, being more aggressive, trying to take advantage of every advantage we can create on the field, when we have a young team, and we're building that way. So I'm very happy with that. And I think that's been the biggest task.
Yeah, and you can see it wasn't that long ago where Southside was competing for SAC championships, beating the likes of Snyder and Lures and some of the powerhouses. That was in 2009. The Archers going 8-2. And Coach, you talk about your young players and having some success. Last year, you guys won the small division in the PSM 7-on-7 shootout. This year, you guys went up to the large division and knocked off the likes of Carroll and Northside. And obviously, that's just 7-on-7, but still, it's success that the guys were able to take back with them. Could you feel a sense of pride in the guys, obviously, after winning those championships, but maybe something to where a light kind of flipped on in their head, like, we can do this?
Yes. I think that really has been our attitude the whole season, and it started with the 7-on-7s. We started there. We had a good team scrimmage against DeKalb, where we felt like we competed real well this year compared to a year ago, where I think they just physically outdid us. Last year, I think we competed with them real well. We had a good scrimmage and a lot of success against Anderson. Our team was high. We felt like we could compete going into the season, and like you said, dropping a tough one on a tough overtime call against Marion. We were right there. South Bend St. Joe, that game was 14-9 into the fourth quarter before they scored the last touchdown. I mean, a tough game, a game that we had chances to also have a lead in the win. So we felt the whole year that we can compete. The thing is, we're trying to just not allow them to take a step back, just because, again, we went into the meat of our schedule with, Carroll, Snyder, and Wayne is if anyone, like I said, doubted Wayne, they shouldn't anymore after seeing the way they played Carroll this past Friday too. So they're going to be, again, a sectional opponent to have to look forward to seeing possibly again, and they're for real as well. So I think we played 3 of the top teams in the area right now to start off. So, and again, I'm not happy with the scores and with the losses, but again, I understand the situation and what we're facing and who we're facing. So, we can't do anything but get better if we continue to work hard and stay together.
And Coach, what were your thoughts? Because Wayne made the change to Harold Mack at quarterback for the game against you guys. We all know he's a top 15 player in the whole state of Indiana for the class of 2025. What was your impression of Harold Mack in at quarterback and even big Trey Dillard at receiver?
Both of those guys are tremendous athletes. Everybody knows, Dillard for his athleticism on the court, but highly underrated. I think he's in the right position now, and I think that switch that they made was probably the best switch that they could make for their team. Wish they would have did it a week after us, but
Right.
kudos to Coach Haydock, and I take my hat off to him because again, we were looking more preparing for a big dose of Nelson that week, and with that switch to quarterback, it offset a few things for us, but it allowed them to do a few more things on offense with his athleticism, with the run, and surprisingly, he has a decent arm for somebody who hasn't done it on a full-time basis. He gets the ball to the guys he needs to when he needs to do it. And Dillard, boy, he had a highlight probably for his career against us on a tight end run. He's a big hoss, as we know, 6'6", 6'7", well over 200 pounds and athletic.
Yes.
You see him on the court, good feet, good speed, and he finishes with the ball. There's not too many guys outside of Brock Schott around here, his size, that can match him size-wise. So, they've got a good thing going. And then when you toss in, Lamarion Nelson,
Kamar.
Kamarion Nelson. I've been dealing with those guys for so long. I just start calling them brothers' names. But yes. When you throw him in the mix as well, this a very dangerous team offensively and defensively. Like I said, yes. And a team that I thought, though, at the same time, again, we played a great half against 3 quarters against, before it got away from us. And I think we did some things well against them, and our defense held up well against them too. But like I said, that's a tough team.
And Coach, with the out of conference and the Summit Athletic Conference going to the Big Small Division, you guys have played Marion and South Bend at St. Joe's. I think have been really good matchups and comparisons for you guys to start the season. Is that a continued contract? Did those contracts end with them this year? What's it look like going forward with the out of conference for you?
I know we picked up. I know we picked up another year with Marion and South Bend. I know we've been looking at possibly doing something different with week 2, but as of right now, I know for sure that Marion is in play. And if I had to say, they'll probably both be in play for at least another year.
Yeah, like-minded schools, similar-ish enrollment. It's a good comparison to start the season. And you've been that close to Marion 2 years in a row. You deserve a third year at least to give another shot at it.
Yeah, their coach and I both said that. We'd be like, man, with the last 2 years, and it was his first year coming back to the staff at Marion last year itself. So we were like, those were both two good games to end like that. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, definitely. But I look forward to playing them again next year. Like I said, they'll have a lot of the talents back that they had this year too. They were young and in a lot of positions just like we were. So I look forward to that game as well again too, and competing against them.
And playing that Concordia team last week when you got your first win, that's been your 2 wins in your first 2 years have been Concordia. Tim Manigault probably wants to get you off the schedule, but that's a big win in a messy type of situation. You guys really battled through, and big shout out to Corty Wallace as well. You guys have a really good kicker there. Talk about how that can be a weapon for the Southside Archers.
Corte is just a guy who he's a sophomore, but you think maybe he's a sophomore in college, but with his attitude and his work ethic. Even on the basketball court as a freshman, he earned some varsity time on the basketball court. Tenacious defender, believes in himself. Kicked for us as a freshman, put us ahead in the game against Marion last year before they ended up having the go-ahead kickoff return as a freshman. Ice water, totally confident in himself at all times, no matter what he's doing on the field. Can play multiple positions, but he can be a weapon, and he's getting better. we have a kicker coach this year who's doing a wonderful job with him as well. Zane Schultz, he's a former kicker at Taylor University, and he's come on the staff with us this year, working with Corte full time, and is paying dividends. And like I said, that's another weapon that, again, in the past, you might not have had. And if you even seen our kickoffs now, he's putting kickoffs in the end zone, landing deep kickoffs, from a freshman to a sophomore year. He couldn't do that a year ago. So, I mean, he's improving, taking the workload. He spends days just with he and Zane working on punting, working on kicking. So that's another big thing for us that we're adding to the staff and hoping to go forward, working a few. And he also plays soccer at the same time. So he's a two-sport athlete right now, to dub him with, playing for dad too. So I couldn't get him 100%. So, but he's doing well in soccer with our boys team as well.
That's outstanding.
Coach, you mentioned the Nelsons, Lamarion, who a year before you got to Southside ran for about 360 yards over there, Archer Field.
7 touchdowns as well.
Yeah, we that's the number one rushing game in Northeast Indiana, which was impressive. And then Kimar has just been amazing throughout his career. 2 really, really great football players. And on our very first show, Ivory Bryant, the Harding great, chimed in from Florida saying, he wants to know about Kimar's recruiting because I believe they're cousins. Now, you played with Ivory Bryant, so do you know the big family?
Yeah, I'm familiar with the family. Yeah, Ivory, he was a freshman when I graduated. He played fullback with us, and I've known him throughout his career at Harding and to Northern Illinois. So very good guy. But the Nelsons, they're tremendous athletes. I mean, in everything they do. And I mean, the kid long jumps almost 20 feet, runs the 200, one of the best 200 runners in the area. I mean, and he does it effortlessly. I mean, the way he plays, I mean, it's almost looking at Travis Hunter on the college level. Think about the number of plays he plays, every play on defense, and then the number of plays he plays on offense, and he's depended on to make the plays that he's making, with his legs, knowing the defense is keying on him. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing what they've been able to do. And Wayne has been, lucky just to be able to have the whole family there and for them to be able to help the football team out, and also for them to be able to help those guys out to get to the next level and continue their careers too.
Well, and you mentioned Travis Hunter. He's got to keep up with Coach Prime, so that's a little extra motivation there.
He's a little bit past Coach Prime. That's one of my favorite guys. He never played that much offense.
Yeah,
that's a podcast with Chad Ochocinco and Sterling Sharp where they dared him, and Ochocinco said, "Well, it's hard to do anything with 8 toes, Coach."
Oh my goodness! Yeah. Oh yeah. That was a low blow, but that's something that only Ochocinco could say that.
Right.
But Coach, that's big time talk around here is Kimar and his recruiting, and when is somebody gonna take a chance on Kimar Nelson because of all of the things that you just said. And not only that, when you talk with him, he's somewhat of a quiet kid, but he's a great guy.
Very humble, very, very humble, very good young man. Like I said, to me, it's the total package. I can't understand right now why he's still underrated. I think he's the best, probably one of the best, if not the best linebacker in the state. We're playing in probably, like we said, second best conference, one of the top 2 to 3 best conferences in the state. And this kid is averaging almost up to 20 tackles a game. He had over 20, maybe 27 tackles for loss on the season last year. He's far well going to exceed that probably this year. And then he turns around and runs the ball like Derrick Henry. I mean, no one wants to tackle him once he gets going. And I mean, and he does it without blinking. And like I said, as long as the academics are in place, somebody's going to get a steal. Anybody in the MAC, I think he can easily step into any team on the MAC and play. I mean, maybe not right away with a year of, college development under his belt, the weight room, learning the film process and meetings and everything else. This kid's a Division I player, hands down. Yeah. And I don't know if he develops with traction or with OPS or with Parkview or anyone else, but I mean, there's got to be somebody out there who has to have eyes on him, and hopefully, even if it's after the season when the recruitment process picks up, I'd be very disappointed if a team didn't get him. But whoever does and wherever he goes, they're getting a great athlete and a great young man.
Yeah, and you got some great athletes over on your side of the field too, with Javon Irby and JT Snow, and the highlight reel that Josiah Malone can put up as well. You really have some outstanding weapons on that side of the field. Derek Jones is getting recruited now. Bus Jones, they're on the offensive line. It feels like they're coming together, and it's just getting those pieces right where you need them, because you have the weapons. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, that's been a gift and a curse a little bit, because we have so many weapons, and yet we're so young up front.
And you got one ball.
Positions. Yes, and we've got one ball, and being so young up front and trying to develop everything at the same time. So those weapons are like, they're revving and ready to go, and it's like, okay, well, the engine's not right yet.
Right.
We don't have the motor right yet. Once we get the motor right, along with those engines hitting at the same speed, we're going to be dangerous. But yeah, that's kind of where we are now. We have the weapons, and with one ball, trying to get them all to stay humble. And like we said, even before TJ went down with the injury for the season, he was leading us with 37 to 40 yards a game receiving. And with the identity that I want to have with being a ground and pound team, with running the ball first and utilizing our weapons, then spreading teams out from there. I mean, that's where we'd like to be. We're about at the same place now. Irby leads us with 58 yards a game. I think Josiah Malone's right behind him with 56 yards a game. So that's two guys averaging over 50 yards a game as a whole rushing. And Silas Porte comes in right behind those guys. And a pleasant surprise for us has been Chris Moon, number 7 for us. This is his first year playing with us. He's a junior for us, first year coming back. He hasn't played again since middle school, but he's been great for us this year. Downhill runner, legs move completely, can catch out of the backfield as you see here. And he got banged up at the end of the game. We're hoping he's going to get back and be okay to play here on Friday. But been a pleasant surprise. Another weapon added to our backfield. Like we said, even with Snow going down, we still have JT Timberlake Johnson, who's a weapon on the outside. And we picked up another young man, a junior by the name of Kyan Beasley at receiver, number 9 for us this year, who's stepping in now, who's been our lead receiver since Snow has been out. So like I said, again, we're mixing in some guys who are just getting the opportunity to play on Friday nights for the first time this year. So even being juniors, you're young players, this is your first time on the stage, and knowing, getting really to see the speed of the game and what needs to be done out there to be successful.
Coach, one of those juniors is Robert Murphy. He and KJ have been splitting some time at quarterback. What are you seeing right there with both the quarterbacks for you? I believe last game it was KJ to Blake Smith for the touchdown in that game. And I know he had at least 2 completions there. But just talk about those 2 quarterbacks for you.
Like I said, KJ has still been our starter this year, and he's been a guy that I still have total confidence in. It was just a hard situation for me. There were a lot of things that, Robert Murphy coming in as a sophomore would have probably been the lead guy in the position to be the starting quarterback. And KJ kind of came in and overwhelmed everybody with his arm talent and a lot of the things he could pick up, quickly. And one thing I can say about our team and what we tell our guys is, if you want something, work for it. If you want it to be a hard decision, make it a hard decision for me. Don't sit back and pout about not playing. Go out, work, show us what you can do, be undeniable, and that's what Robert Murphy did this offseason. And no knock to KJ. He plays basketball as well. He's on the basketball court throughout December, but Robert was our leader through December, through the weight room. He took the weight room very serious. He put on at least 6 to 8 more pounds of muscle for him. He stretched out. He got a little bit taller. He worked out a lot, and he worked with receivers, spent a lot of time off the field putting in the work. And we gave him an opportunity through 7-on-7s this summer to show that. And he's a natural leader. He'd been here. He kept his head up through, not being the guy last year, and even saying, hey, a freshman came in and won the job over me. And that's what it was. It was a competition. It wasn't a choice. And this year he's competed. And as a head coach, I felt like, hey, I don't have any choice but to give him an opportunity to show that what he can do on the field as well. He's earned it. It wasn't a knock to KJ. It was a conversation that was had, for the two of them. I think in aspects of the game, both of them can give us opportunities to win and get done what we want to do on the offense. And I think Robert had earned that opportunity, and that's what we've been seeing.
And Coach, that's what you want with building a program. You want kids to run towards competition, not run away. I mean, that's really how you build toughness in a team, no matter what the sport. And a kid that is running towards that competition, no matter who it is, whatever position it is, those if you had 40 of them on your team, you got something special.
Yes.
Coach, we all know that.
Yes, sir. I agree. And like I said, not only.
Look, Tim, you got me?
I got you. We made a lost coach there for a second.
Well, hopefully he's there we go, Coach.
I'm here. It was just breaking up a little bit.
You're good.
Problem.
Yep.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I was going to say, Coach, it's often said that your best ability is availability. And, when you look at the SAC and preparing the guys, you kind of want to limit contact to keep them healthy, but you also have to introduce them to contact when you're going up against one of the better defenses in the state in the Snyder Panthers. How are you able to balance that? And has that changed from year one to year two with Southside?
Yes, and to be totally honest, it's been more physicality. I mean, rather if it's been on the sleds or even if it's just individual one-on-one battles, maybe we can't do a lot of live team things, just because of the bodies. And like I said, again, this is the first year where we have an offensive line that doesn't play defense. None of our linemen go both ways. So that's been a blessing for us, and that's all due to numbers. And like you said, the availability of guys and having guys who can who can produce defensively, so we don't have to have them, for offense and things like that. So I think just development and continuing to utilize what we have to the best of our ability.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, and looking in, to this outstanding rivalry, Jeff mentioned all the history in this Totem Pole game. Northside's coming off a tough defeat, kind of the opposite of what your game was, and them losing 10-8. They're at Lures in the mud there on the field. But this game, and how much have you talked about the preparation for Tristan Newsome? The kid has been so dynamic for Coach Johnson. There's been some games he was 90% of the offensive yards in the mud at the second half. They just started running basically quarterback draws with Newsome, but he's a special talent.
Yeah, and he's mostly up until this year, he was always noted for what he'd been able to do at the cornerback position and on defense. But he's shown that he's a tremendous athlete with the ball in his hands, period. And if you've seen him on the track, that speed translates to the football field. And if he gets outside of your defense, it's pretty much lights out. And you have to pay a lot of attention, and it takes a lot of game planning. But then they have, some other athletes that you have to watch on the outsides as well, and at running back. So it's a total package, but it's definitely been led by him this year. And like I said, if he can extend plays, it's going to be a long day. If you can force the ball out of his hands, keep him in the pocket, limit the big plays. He's gonna get you. So I don't think any team. It's been hard for most teams to just stop him. Weather had a lot to do with it here, this past week. But hey, both teams had to play in.
Right.
No excuses there. But he has to be accounted for.
Yeah, then the outside, Malik Moore, just a special sophomore. He's another speedster and three-sport athlete with baseball, basketball, and football, which you have a couple of. But Caleb Kingelay's been out, the talented sophomore running back. We'll get to talk to Coach Johnson later and see if he's available to play. But the weapons there on Northside on the offensive side are very tremendous. But I want to ask you about their defense. With James Early up front, such a specimen. He's a D1 prospect, and then Josh Masasu, just a linebacker extraordinaire, sitting right behind him. How do you guys game plan for special talent like that on defense?
With all due respect to their talents, we have to challenge them. What I'm learning and what I've learned is sometimes when you play big time players like that, I've had the opportunity to play some guys and coach against some guys and see guys that are now even at Notre Dame, Drake Everson, being at Andrean when with my time at Lures and seeing some other guys who've had an opportunity to go big too. Certain times running away from them is the best thing. You can't game plan away from them. You have to be aggressive. You have to force them to show that they're those 3 or 4-star guys or those all-state, all-city players. You got to make them make those plays. And hopefully we can get enough hats to them and we can scheme well enough that when we've got to go at them and force them to make those plays, we make them be consistent and play the whole game, and not just be able to have a free-for-all and come with their ears tied back. So that's the biggest thing is to be aggressive, go at them, but, we're going to do it respectively because we do respect their talent and we know what they bring to the table and their athleticism. But we think we've seen some great defenses, some defenses comparable to what they're going to bring with Wayne's defense. I mean, Carroll's got a great defense. Snyder still has, one of the best defenses around here as well. So I think learning from those games, looking and seeing what we were able to do and have success against those teams and build upon that and try to take it into this week again, I think our defense will hold up. But again, our offense is going to have to score in order for us to win this game.
Coach, we know rivalry games can light a fire in some players that other games just don't. We saw that with the Northside game. Northrop gave Northside everything they could handle, and those two schools share Northwood as a feeder. So in this game right here, I know the fire is going to be burning bright in some of your guys. If you had to guess a breakout player for you on offense and one on defense in this game, who is one person on each side of the ball that you might single out?
I might say Josiah Malone this week because it's going to be an emotional week for him.
Right.
Going back to his freshman year playing at Northside with his dad being a coach on the staff before joining our staff and suddenly passing away before having a chance to coach with us. I think this game is going to be very emotional for him going back there, where his dad also played at Northside too, was a Northside graduate. And him knowing so many guys and having relationships with guys on that team. But I could tell you right now, he bleeds green and he wants nothing more than to win this game and have a big game. So I can see with his running style and determination, if we can, like I said, get the lanes for him and create a few lanes for him, I can see him having a big game offensively. And defensively, Dietrich Smith. He's probably one of the more underrated players in the area. He's just a sophomore. I want to say he leads us in tackles. He's got 2-3 interceptions on the season. Very hard hitter from outside linebacker position. Humble, quiet kid. He's got a bright future, a very, very bright future. Also has to get some carries out of the backfield for us as well. Another kid who can play multiple positions on the defense, but I see him being athletic enough to, like I said, to stay with running backs to cover the swing passes, a lot of the bubbles and different things that they like to run. He's been killing them all year when we have seen those plays run, and I think that he's going to be up for the task this week too.
Yeah, and I got to know Zeke very well. He coached my daughter at Always 100 for several years, and he'd always come out when he was coaching for Northside after games. He'd always come and talk to me, big smile on his face, and said, "Wait till you see Josiah. Just wait till you see Josiah." And he has been. I mean, it is so tough to battle through something like that, to keep your head up, keep moving forward, doing the right things. How proud of you are Josiah and where he's at today?
Like I said, outside of football, just with his mental growth, I mean, he just hasn't flinched too much. And I mean, with his personality, if you know him, that's the type of kid he's been. He internalizes a lot of things, and he's a little bit mature beyond his years, just due to life and situations. But he wears it with a smile, humble kid. Academically sound, great student. He's been a pleasure to have, and I know Dad had a goal for him, even coming over and with him coming to Southside, and we've just been trying to honor that, and I know he wants to honor that, what Dad had taught him and had been his coach and trainer his whole life. So he's just been trying, like I said, to honor that and keep Dad's legacy alive with the way he's playing, and even with his brother too. They're all doing well right now, and like I said, it's just been a pleasure to have him, and having him for another year is going to be great too. Only a junior, so, I mean,
yeah.
He's going to be a premier player, small in stature, but we've all seen those guys before that teams have that can do it all, and he's one of them. As you see, he's our punter. He punts for us as well. He could be one of the best defensive players we have as well. We have a lot of those guys, and he's another one that doesn't have to go both ways. And in prior years, he would have to. You'd have to use him up just because, of numbers. But we're blessed this year that Irby, guys like that, who could probably be our top corners or safeties or somebody. We don't have to have them play those positions because we have other athletes and talent out there.
Speaking of talent, Coach, JT Timberlake Johnson really made his name known last year. He had 3 interceptions in the win against Concordia, your first win as the program's head coach. What have you seen with his maturation process? Because, Coach, I see him out in the field. He looks thick. You had him on offense and on defense. And on offense, he's always around the pile. It seems like he's one of those snap to whistle guys where he doesn't take a play off.
Yeah, and it's hard to gauge him because sometimes, like you said, he's not the most polished route runner on offense. As you see, he doesn't do any really off-season route training because he plays basketball, plays AAU ball as well. He does 7-on-7. He does a lot of things, and he's just a freakish athlete, and he competes at the highest level. I mean, if the ball's in the air, he wants the ball. It's his ball, and that's the way he plays offensively and defensively alike. He's a ball hawk. Even on plays, if he's a little bit short too, he's always where he needs to be and where he's supposed to be, and he's learning the game still. Again, he's a young junior, 15 years old, and he's still just He's learning the game. He's coming into his body. Like I said, again, two-way athlete playing basketball at a high level too, starts varsity basketball team as well for Coach Foster. And another junior guy who, like we said, was second team all SAC selection as a sophomore. So, and again, year's been a little bit slower. We haven't had as much excitement as we want out of the secondary, but he's playing the position right. We haven't been beat deep by anyone really over the top. We're picking it up on the ground and things like that. So he's been playing his position and doing well for us.
Coach, I think I had told you before, but we played in the first ever game in that Southside Stadium, and that was a comeback victory by Adrian Reese and the Archers. To our dismay, but John Hester was the coach. Eddie Nolan was on that staff. Are those some of the guys that have you talked to them much about being a head coach at Southside, or are there other influences or mentors in the hallways that you can lean on?
Yeah. Unfortunately, Eddie Nolan just retired from Southside, so Eddie and I.
Oh wow.
He's known me since I was a kid, since my brothers came through playing and everything else. So I've been familiar with the Nolan family for a long time. It's funny that you say that because, yes, John Hester was just at our practice last week. I communicate with him a lot. I communicate with Grady Pruitt. I've talked to a lot of the old head coaches and asked them, what they did to keep the kids together, what they did to hold teams together, and to get guys from different backgrounds and to play together every week as a family. And and I know they had the pleasure of coaching a lot of the Reeses growing up, and a lot of the and having a lot of the LaShores and Mike Woods and a lot of those guys that came up. They had the pleasure of coaching those guys, and myself having Mike Woods on staff, I try to use him and tell those guys the way it used to be when you were here. Southside was one of the most dangerous schools you wanted to play, because I always told them, I said, you knew you were going to have a fight on the field, and you might have to fight to get off the field with them. I said, it was just that type of game. I said, you knew it was going to be an aggressive, physical game, and you're going to have to play your best, and you're going to have to be a tough team to win. And win or loss, you play the game. And that's what I try to get to them. But yes, Coach Hester said the same thing. Long time, Metro coach and Southside supporter, Coach Tom Macon, has made it out to one of our practices, and he he supports us. His son came through, Anthony Macon came through Southside, was a great 3-sport athlete himself there, football, basketball, and baseball. And so, yeah, I do. I try to reach out to old players. Donovan Clark was at our practice last week. He's come in and talked to players. This year, I brought Nathan Braster, who was a Division I defensive end at Western Michigan. He's now on our staff helping our defensive line out too. So I'm constantly reaching back to guys who've been there, know the tradition, who can show the kids that, hey, I did it. This can be you. We can get out of here. We can go to good schools with a winning or a losing record. It's all about the work you put in and the work you're willing to put in.
And the thing is, Coach, they had to work hard back in the day, because if they didn't, they'd have to jog to Larez and run the hills.
Yes.
So, that's right.
Oh, man, I threatened them with that, and they're looking at me like, what's the reservoir? I'm like, oh, my God. I just put my head down, forget it.
And speaking of Donovan Clark, wow, what an amazing career he's putting together. I believe he's with the White Sox organization, head strength and conditioning coach. What kind of message does he have for the kids? Because he went to IU as a full scholarship football player. He was dynamic for Southside, then ends up at IPFW to play baseball, finished his career at Huntington University, and had a fantastic career with the Foresters. It's one of the top NAIA baseball programs around.
Right.
What kind of message did he have for the kids?
One of perseverance. And even though there could be a fork in the road, life has twists and turns. And as long as you work hard, you're going to land in a good position. And like you say, with him being an all-around football player and all-state great football player and going to IU on a full scholarship and with injuries and some things that, took his playing time on the field away from him, it didn't stop him from leaning on other sports and other things that he had in his back pocket with baseball, and sticking with it. And then look at the job he lands and, with the opportunities that he took with coming home to IPFW and going to Huntington and never giving up on his dream. And it's worked out for him now, like you said, with the White Sox, working with their minor league team and, doing great for himself. So I think it was one of perseverance, and no matter what, life throws you, what curveball it throws you, just to continue to work hard and stick to your dreams and goals and everything, because regardless, your playing days are going to end one day, and what are you going to do after? So I think, he set himself up for great success in what he's doing right now. So I was very happy that he came through and spoke with us. So yeah, a lot of those guys have been coming back, and we've been reaching out to. And I even give a shout out to Jesse Bates. He came through and talked to the team, and that was a special thing for us to be able to have him. We have his stepdad on the staff as well, so he's willing to talk to the kids and come out and spend time anytime he can. And when he has it, now being in Atlanta is a little bit easier in Cincinnati, but so I mean, just trying to give those guys, that experience and have those experiences to reach out and to see things like that, I think, pays dividends. This was the first off season that we went to Ball State spring game as a team. We took a team trip and did a 7-on-7 lineman challenge at the University of Toledo. I mean, some of those things are where some of these guys have never seen Division I campuses, in their lives.
Right.
May not ever have an opportunity to play on them again, but seeing that and going out and being able to compete there gives them that sense that, they belong and that they can bring that back home. And hopefully we carry that kind of stuff on to our regular season to help us build for our regular season success.
Yeah, and looking, my last question for you, Coach. Friday in the Totem Pole game, I've done several of these in our 10 to 12 years of covering high school sports in the 260. Speak to your fans, your alumni, your students out there about the importance of having a lot of green across that way at Chambers Field to support your kids in this huge rivalry game of these kids that know each other so well. Talk to the alumni, the students, and the fans out there, what it means if they're there packing the house for you at Chambers Field.
Well, the one thing I would like them to know is the message that I've sent to my team this week about what it would mean to someone more important than ourselves. And when I said that, I meant our alumni, our principal, our athletic director, the community, everybody who backs us. And we're going to need all of you, our alumni, our community, everybody who bleeds green, and everybody who has a family member, a family friend member that plays for Southside. We're going to need their support, because all the fan support that we can get this week is going to give us the energy to get the job done. I expect a close game. I expect a hard-fought game, and we're going to have to find that inspiration to get over the hump. And this week it could be the 12th man, and that's our fan.
Great stuff, Coach. Great stuff.
Absolutely. The last win for Southside 2017, 35-22 over Northside in the Totem Pole series. Northside currently on a 6-game win streak, but Coach Goodwell and the Archers have something to say about Northside getting to number 7. So, Coach, we wish you all the best Friday night. We know it's going to be a spirited, fun football game, and whoever gets to hold the totem pole and get their picture after the game, they're going to have bragging rights for 365 days.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I hope that's South. Let's go, Green.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks for joining us, Coach. Good luck Friday night.
Thank you.
See you, Coach.
See you, Coach.
Coach Andre Goodwell. Tim, we have a couple of minutes here before Coach Ben Johnson joins us, and we will have a new link for that one right there. But, Tim, I got to tell you, the program was not on solid ground before Coach Goodwell took over. What he has done with that program, I couldn't imagine a better coach for Southside than Andre Goodwell. Would you agree?
I agree 100%. You got to give a lot of credit to Athletic Director Tori Curry and the administration there to bringing in Coach Goodwell. We've gotten to know Tori over the last several years, and what an outstanding athletic director that cares about his kids so much, and putting the right adults in the right position is key one in the high school level, and especially at Southside. So, yeah, I mean, listen to Coach talk, Jeff. Who wouldn't want to play for Coach Goodwell? I mean, he's talking about, when we're talking about how you're going to handle the defense for Northside, and he's talking about we're going to challenge them. I mean, that gave me goosebumps. That was outstanding. I love his attitude. I love the vibe that he's putting out there in the community. And he knows he has talent out there at Southside. It's about getting them all together, keeping them together, and moving forward step by step in the process of rebuilding that proud Archers program.
Yeah, it just makes you think, what if he had Jalen Lattimore and some of the studs that Southside had,
Johnson, and yep.
All those guys. But 30 more players added to the program.
Huge.
You're doing things, as far as I'm concerned, that is a better measurement of success than even wins and losses, is when you get kids that want to play for you. The wins and losses will come, or the wins will come, Tim.
Right. Yeah. There's no question about it, Jeff. You hit it on the head right there. I mean, to have those type of numbers now at Southside, it's only going to improve. It's not a downward trend. This is an upward trend. The naysayers, as I mentioned earlier in our conversation, are just looking at the one win still. But look at how much more competitive Southside is. That 14-0 game with Snyder, it was there. It got away from them late, but they played that first half really, really well. Same thing with the St. Joe South Bend game. So, to me, they got the right man and Coach Andre Goodwell. And if I'm anybody in that district, I'm excited to play for them each and every Friday night.
Absolutely. Well, that was Coach Andre Goodwell before Southside heads to Chambers Field for the battle of the Totem Pole. So on behalf of Tim, I'm Jeff Mahoney, and we'll be back at 8:30 with head coach Ben Johnson from Northside. Thanks for joining us.
See you, everybody.